You are not going to want to miss this episode. I have Alfonso Cuadra. He's the godfather of real estate. He owns over 600 doors across the country and in the U.S. We're going to talk about how to get into multifamily, what to look for, pitfalls to avoid. Really excited about this. You don't want to miss it. And stay to the end. We're going to have some nice things, resources to pass along. So without further ado, Alfonso, how are you?
What's happening, Darren?
Oh,
You say you had some goodies for them. I'm going to encourage for everyone here to stay all the way to the end because on this episode, we're not going to be dropping nuggets. We're going to be dropping bombs. And by the time people are done this episode, they're going to know exactly what to do, especially in this day and age.
I love it. So Alfonso, I know a little bit about your background. You grew up as a rich kid with wealthy parents, and you were handed everything you have.
So,
Do you
silver
wish you'd
spoon. You forgot about the silver spoon.
so just tell our listeners briefly about your upbringing and how you get into real estate and that big life changing event.
Well, I come from Latin America, El Salvador to be exact. I was in two wars before the age of 9, immigrated to Canada as a landing refugee. I had a tough time integrating into the education system here. Mostly I was bored. They never taught anything that I was really truly passionate about in school. I don't know about you, but it wasn't it really wasn't for me. I felt that everyone was in this box. Actually, when I was 10 years old, I asked my teacher, "What's a mortgage?" And the teacher said, "A mortgage is something you get when you're older." And of course, I could, even at 10 years old, I'm like, that's BS. I mean, it can't just be that, something you get when you're older. So I knew I was going to be on my own. Ultimately, I got frustrated and left school. I dropped out of high school at 15 years old. And I went through some dark times, left home, was homeless, spent time on the streets. And we've all had these dark moments, right? And it happens to all kinds of people from all all different parts of life. And for me, I had a life changing moment at 17 when I became a father, and that was incredibly impactful for me, and it was a turning point, and it was the very first time that I discovered purpose. So I got my act together, went back to school, started a business. By the time I was 21, that business was Canada wide. Fell in love with being an entrepreneur, and I said, "This is it. I've made it." Unfortunately, you know, growing up as an immigrant, and the best things my mom could teach me is go to school, get a university degree, and one day you'll buy a house, and you hold on to that house, and you're going to be fine. And so I knew that path wasn't for me, but there was a lack of financial literacy in my household. And no one talked about credit, finances, mortgages. I mean, I never got the mortgage question really answered, to be honest with you. I think I was 17. I still didn't know what a mortgage was. But ultimately, that drive of being a father, led me to start a business. And I happened to fall in the right business at the right time, in the right industry, with the right drive, the right determination. And I was successful. But at 21 years old, I was just spending all the money. I was very much a consumer. And by the time I turned 24, I was negative $1 million. So 21 millions of dollars, and then 24, just about to go bankrupt, pretty much. And so I knew I had to change some things. I knew I needed to learn. uh, I needed to learn how to become an actual business person, not just a business person that is thriving only when the times are good. And so, I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and I mean those two books were really uh, incredible for me because it really opened up my eyes, and I started reading hundreds of other books. And what I discovered, Darren, was that the wealthiest people in the world, first of all, they have the investor mindset. And that's what I was missing, right? Even though I was successful with my business, I was spending I was spending my money on what whatever you could imagine a 21-year-old would spend their money on. Right, I had a Canada-wide business and I was doing really well for myself. So it went into everything you could imagine, all the cliche things that you could imagine. That was probably me.
Cars, trips,
Yeah,
jewelry, all the, yeah, you
everything,
name it.
all of the above. And so when I realized that, I was a consumer. No one taught me how to be an investor. No one taught me how to take the income that I was earning and reinvest it. It was a big eye-opening experience for me. Then realizing that all the wealthiest people in the world have multiple streams of income, and that was interesting because even though I was successful in business at such a early age, but I only had that one stream of income. And to me, I was vulnerable, right? Because shortly after 9/11, the industry changed. There was a correction in that industry. There was new competition. People's consumer habits changed. Competition, internet, China. I mean, there was all of these other factors that impacted my business. But because I only had that one stream of income, I was doomed. And so I said, I need multiple streams of income. And then lastly, after doing all my research, I realized that the wealthiest people in the world own real estate. And the combination of business and real estate gives an unfair advantage to the wealthiest people of the world. And I said, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to do real estate. I want to create a secondary stream of income that's indestructible because I never wanted to be in that situation ever again. In a situation like I remember being negative $1 million, walking out of my store. This guy is panhandling for change, and I'm thinking in my mind like, this guy is worth more than I am. he's he's got nothing, but I'm negative $1 million here. And so I decided to go back and rebuild my business. And what I was going to do this time that I didn't do the first time at 24 years old, I was going to reinvest the profits and really build my real estate portfolio. What I noticed is that none of the wealthiest people, all the biographies and all the wealthiest families, everything that I was reading about, no one ever was talking about their triplex or their duplex or their single family home. In fact, Warren Buffett doesn't even list his single family home in his net worth statement, you know? So I started thinking about the idea of bigger commercial real estate. And this is how basically I just did what everyone was doing in these books, right? Everyone was going after these big commercial type of properties. And so I had a few limitations in terms of credit and income, which led me into multifamily in the first place. Easier to manage, easier to finance, economy of scale. You spread the risk, and all of those things really attracted me, and that's how I started back 23 plus years ago. And by the time we got to 2008, I was a different animal, right? I had reduced my cost of living. I had already rebuilt my company. I built my real estate portfolio. And I think it was around 2008, 2009, as I started to go into real estate full time, that I actually I sold my first company, and I was financially free, right? I didn't really have to do anything. I just wanted to do stuff. I wanted to build my company, and I thought this is a gift that I can give a lot of people. This will ultimately be my legacy. Help people get to this moment of financial freedom through real estate, and that's what I've been doing for the past 15 plus years is helping people from all walks of life, young or old, achieve financial freedom because I'm passionate about it. I'm a freedom fighter, Darren. Freedom fighter. I fight for people's financial freedom.
Yeah. And Alfonso, I've been fortunate enough to see you present multiple times, and you're an incredible presenter. So anyone who gets a chance to see Alfonso, I encourage you to check him out. He's across the country all the time. But
I
I hear
appreciate
you
that.
say a lot, real estate is the greatest wealth building asset or something along that line. Can you just why do you believe, like a lot of us, why do you believe real estate is such a great wealth building asset compared to other ways to invest?
Well, uh, I'll take you back to the presidential race of 2020 in the US. It was discovered that Donald Trump, okay, love the guy or hate the guy, that we're not even talking about, whether we like him or don't or dislike him or whatever, but it was discovered that he paid $750 in personal income taxes, okay? Now, the world was outraged. If you remember that, Darren, it was all over the media, all over the news. Everyone was outraged. People were talking about it. There was demonstrations, and everyone was, the energy, in my point of view, was flowing the wrong way. What people should have been focused on is something very simple. How can we do that for ourselves? And so this mixture of business and real estate together, having real estate as a business, has is the best way to preserve your capital, right? Because making money is easy, but where are you going to hold your money? Are you going to hold it in the stock market? Well, be prepared to not sleep at night unless you know something like Warren Buffett. That's another story. We're not all Warren Buffetts here. Crypto, my country, where I'm from, El Salvador, decided to invest the country's money into crypto, and it's gone down in value significantly since they made that purchase. So now everyone's upset at the president. Um, there's so many asset classes. Okay, I mean, we can go to a hard asset like gold. Ultimately, that hard asset, you have to store it, and it doesn't provide income, right? I love real estate because it's the best way to hold your wealth. It's the best place to hold it, right? And you're not only to not to speak about the fact that you're hedging against inflation, right? Because we can make this interview 3 hours long and just talk about fiat currency and how the currency is paper. And so where are you going to, the idea is to make sure you hold its value. Back in 1923, where Germany went through massive hyperinflation, people were paid twice, once at lunch and once after work. Why lunch? Well, they give you the money, and then they just would go buy anything. They would go buy anything because by the time the end of the day came, that paper had lost value. So they were holding on to anything. And at the end of the day, they would go and buy anything they could get their hands on with that paper because it was losing value. In Venezuela, the gas, they're going through massive hyperinflation. Gas is subsidized. If you go pump gas in Venezuela, you're going to give the guy cents, money. He can't do anything with that money. If you give the guy a banana, he'll be happy to give you a full tank of gas. So all of these factors, the fact that real estate is a hard asset, the fact that you're hedging against inflation, the fact that it's not paper, it's tangible, you can touch it. You're hedging against a potential money reset. You're hedging against inflation. You're hedging against any other craziness that can happen in this world with cryptos, stock markets, recession, all of that. Real estate is the best place to hold your wealth.
Yeah, and you don't have to put 100% down like most other investments. You can put
Leverage pool.
0 to 30 down.
Yeah. Well, by that, the government and the banks, they're telling you that they believe in this asset class, right? Which is why I love multifamily, because when you buy the ones and twosies, they're saying, well, we're not as comfortable with, we're comfortable with real estate, but we want to make sure that you can pay for this, right? And so the debt to income ratio comes into play versus buying larger multifamilies like me, where it's mostly focused on the asset. I'm very secondary to the financing equation, but they're focused on the performance of the asset. And if it makes sense, they'll give me as many mortgages as possible, right? And to have the ability to leverage and have your tenants pay down your mortgage, that's sexy, Darren.
Very sexy. So you started out and you did some joint ventures and stuff, and then you grew. But like, can you tell me how you scaled your business? How were you able to grow that rapidly, that fast, to that big of numbers? And I think you were
Yeah.
actually probably a little bit bigger last year. I think you unloaded some when the market was high. How'd you grow that fast? How do you scale business, and how do people copy you?
Yeah. So number one, you got to know what you're doing, right? Before the podcast, we were talking about, kind of the best things to invest in. The first thing is yourself, right? If the reason most people don't take action is because they lack the confidence. And in my view, if you educate yourself, that is one way of becoming more confident with the subject matter and any or whatever it is that you're doing. Second, you need to expand your mindset, right? If you don't believe that you can do it, you will never be able to grow, right? You may look at a building and you're like, well, that's for the big guys, right? If you put it far away from you, it will always be far away from you. And so, we believe in expanding mindset. So you now can tap into more of what you're capable of, and you get anchored to new numbers. So educate yourself, expand the mindset, put in the right knowledge, and ultimately take action. And the actions are going to be reflective on how much potential you think you have, right? And so we become anchored to like all kinds of numbers, right? October 26th, people are like, oh, the interest rates only went up 0.50. How easy do we become anchored to numbers? Because we were like 100 basis points, 100 basis points, 100 basis points, 0.50. Oh, and so we become anchored to these numbers, and you have to rejig the anchoring in your mind. And when you look at big numbers, when you ask the question, how do I scale? I went after big deals, right? And the reason I went after big deals is because number one, I I injected knowledge and education, mentorship, coaching into me, and I invested into myself. Now I have the confidence. I created new anchoring, so I expanded my mindset on what is possible for me. And then ultimately, I took massive action. And that action resulted in the first deal, the first big deal. Like my first biggest deal was like a 7 unit apartment building, 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't even sleep at night. Darren, if I told you that I stayed up all night, I wouldn't be lying. And the second one was a 10 unit, and then a 15 unit, and a 20 unit, and a 30 unit. So I'm always consistently living in expansion, right? To now that I'm looking at deals, they're like 100 units, 200 units, 300 units. And so it's easier to scale the business if you are leveling up every time. What happens is people, they buy their first duplex and like, oh, I can do this, and they go out and they buy like 20 duplexes. It's a lot of work, right? And so what happens is you get boggled down by the daily the day to day that you can't even see anymore. You can't even see to the next level. And so what we teach our people is to simply expand, and it doesn't matter where you are. You maybe your first deal will be a fourplex, well then your second deal needs to be an eightplex, and after the eightplex, then your third deal should be a 16 unit, and after that it should be in the 20 to the 30s. So then you're always consistently growing, and you're not stuck with linear growth. You can now take exponential growth, right? And this is how you would scale quickly.
And like on a typical multifamily, like, well, let's step back. So when did you sort of transition into the GPLP structure? And we don't need to get into the big details, but like just that transition from joint venture or borrowing money to that LP GP, like what
When you
what was
start raising big capital, right? The hardest thing about the GPLP is just there's a cost. There's a cost associated that you might not be able to justify with smaller deals. And so the bigger deals justify a more sophisticated structure, and you have to do everything the right way, right? There's no cutting corners. There's no there's no gray areas. It's just do everything the right way from the very beginning, so you can build a beautiful business all the way through.
Okay, and then you talked about interest rates, so affecting everybody, and I think it's scaring a lot of people out of the onesies and twosies because those people are interest rates are up, the cash flow's not there anymore. But on the multi-unit, we're talking only investors. So what's happened in the past number of months as interest rates went up to the multifamily market?
Yeah, so in the multifamily market, especially if you're in commercial multifamilies like I am, okay? Very different than the residential multifamilies, okay? So residentials, we're talking about your threes, fours, five, six. I would say you're under the residential mortgage umbrella, which for the most part you're highly focused and sensitive to interest rates. When you go into the commercial lending side of things, we're focused on the bond market. And the bond market reacts very differently than what's happening with the Bank of Canada. For example, in anticipation, in anticipation to October 26th, which is the last interest rate hike, the bond markets reacted differently. So they were already up. So the bond market was up, meaning that all the commercial lending, the majority of commercial lending was going to be extremely expensive if you closed the deal right before October 26th. Now, when October 26th hit, it wasn't the 100 basis points like everyone was expecting. It was only 0.5 basis points, which resulted for the bond market to go down because they're like, oh, it's not that bad. And so the bond market went down and it started to hover low where, even on Monday I was able to lock in at around 4%.
Wow, how many years?
Five.
5 years.
Money, right? And so at 40-year AM. And so, most of the time, most of the people are bordering at 5 or 6. They're focused on the interest rate, which 0.5 had an impact, but in the multifamily, it actually had the opposite. Bond markets went down as a result of that announcement.
Did you say 40-year amortization?
Yeah.
Is that
Well, there's lots of products. I mean, we're looking right now at the MLI Select product, which is 50-year amortization.
wow?
Yeah. So in commercial lending, you're going to have cheaper interest rates. You're going to have longer amortization. So it's, you're looking at properties that can cash flow. And because of where we are with interest rates, you're gonna need that 40 to 50-year amortization to make the deal work.
Thanks for listening so far. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you always know when new content is coming out. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please leave a 5-star rating and leave a review and subscribe. And if you are interested in learning more, please visit our website at controlandcompound.com to sign up for a free education session with one of our wealth coaches.
Okay. Now, when you obviously have a big team, and I think next to your wife, you're probably one of the most important members of the team. What would you say for people starting out wanting to build a team? What's that first team member or first or second team member that you want to make sure you have on board?
Okay, so it really depends on the business, right? And what you want to accomplish.
If you want to get into the multifamily, so if you
Yeah.
want to be in the multifamily world,
The first hire should be in operations, right? If you're getting into multifamily world and you have a few deals, what we tend to do as an entrepreneur, we tend to say, well, wait a minute, hold on, like I can take care of this myself. I can manage these properties myself, and I can take all the phone calls and go and look at the problems and deal with all that. The problem with that is that you'd be the bottleneck of your business. You can't grow if you're the one doing all the management. You can't look for other deals, and so the first person should be someone in operations. So you kind of need if you're trying to scale a business, you need a few people. Operations, you need admin, right? Like you got to keep your books and your paper in check. I know a lot of entrepreneurs they're allergic to paper, but that's I would say that's a very important hire. For me, it was a personal assistant, right? Someone that can help me keep everything into boxes and categories, and so that I'm able to do what I do. I'm able to get on a podcast. I'm able to talk to an investor. I'm able to connect with a seller and work on deals. And so like I like to put myself into high level conversations and just consistently stay and and the things that I do are going to be extremely high level versus like going to the bank and all these clerical things that people love to do and waste time.
So, okay, that's great. All this is fantastic. So, when you look at multifamilies, like we got rules of thumb, in the 1, 2Zs, 4Zs, 6Zs. What are just we don't need them all, but like what are some of the key fundamentals like you initially look for where you can look at 30 properties and discount 28 of them immediately? What the multifamily specifically? What are the fundamentals that you look for that you won't touch a deal unless it has X?
Yeah, so my criteria has evolved over the years. Where I came from, I was a very much value add type of investor, where I wanted to buy an asset and reposition it, and go in and I was the kind of guy that I have no problem like fighting with like meth heads and all kinds of stuff. And I lived in that space for a very long time until I expanded into bigger asset classes and more into the lean and clean, right? And so I'm a big believer in being in alignment with the kind of lifestyle that you want. And the thing is, people are looking at me and they're saying, "Oh, this is you know, this is exactly where I'm going to go tomorrow." Well, I've paid my dues. Okay, so if you are going to start in the value add and you're going to be repositioning buildings, I suggest that you do it. That's a good place to start, right? But I've gone into like newer builds. I've gone into buying like brand new assets and just enjoying the low maintenance and better tenant profile and all the perks that comes with owning new, right? That's also part of my expansion because in 2019 it wasn't even in the things that I was doing. I was very much always stuck in the value add type deals until like I started to really look at and take inventory of my life and my lifestyle, and I'm trying to look for deals that are in alignment with the life that I want. And new builds give me that, that that lifestyle that I'm looking for. So that's one criteria. It needs to be in alignment with my goals, right? Number two, for us, we look at economic drivers in the market. We look at we look at management, right? Do we have the right people involved? If it's something that, for example, I've sold assets that just because they were kind of out of the way, right? So if they're out of the way, all of a sudden we're wasting management and resources going to a place where maybe if we sold that and we just focused along one highway, for example, then it makes the management a lot easier, right? So we want to do things that make sense. We're not going to get distracted by shiny things, and we're kind of like really laser focused in the things that we want to do and the goals that we have. So criteria number one economic factors of the project, and where we're investing, because we're long-term investors. It absolutely needs to fit our goals and our lifestyle. It absolutely has to have positive cash flow. It absolutely, that we need to be able to use our resources and management, and ultimately, those are the kind of like the main items that we look at when we make an investment.
It's been fun to follow you these last number of years because a few years ago or 5 years ago, I think when I first ran across you, it was Timbuktu, Saskatchewan, fixer upper, 12 unit. You were the guy. People were calling you, and now you're buying like luxury in Los Angeles. So, what was the unit cost per unit in Saskatchewan at the time versus LA? I'm sure
Oh man,
it's a big spread.
if I said it, you wouldn't even believe me. But we bought one deal. It was a 36 unit apartment building for 674. So it came to about 18,000 and change, $18,000 and change in per unit. And then we're building something which 30 units for 14 million. So it's
Wow.
about 500K a door with all the bells and whistles, right? So,
But I love that new construction because the roof doesn't go, the windows don't go. If there's any problems, most of it's under warranty. Like how many less headaches do you have with the new build versus? I mean, I know you buy an older one, you fix it up, that initial stuff, but on a go
you
forward
always have
basis,
ongoing issues with older product. Um, there's this like beautiful honeymoon period where everything's under warranty and everything is sexy. Everyone loves new. Your investors love new. Your insurance company loves new. Your tenants love new. Your property managers love new. The city loves new. So you're putting in new units into their city. I mean, you're solving a lot of the issues that they have in the first place. There's no, especially, I mean, you're in Halifax, right? We don't, you might not have to worry as much as in Ontario or other provinces with the rent control and all the limits that you have in your ability to increase rents. But here in Ontario, new builds don't follow the rent control. You can raise the rents for whatever you want. That's for the next 5 years, and that makes it inflation proof. So you see, if you find an old building, you have tenants, going to be very hard for you to exit tenants. But in the case of a new build, you can put up the rents to whatever the market can bear.
and the market's bearing a lot right now
Yeah,
as far
yeah,
as rents. So how much have rents come up in the areas you're dealing with?
we're seeing more than 20%.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to go up. So new builds are in that, they're, obviously the only way to get builders to build units is to offer incentives. And it's not because, people want to be, they want to, you know, be money hungry or whatever. It's logical. Why would a builder build an apartment building versus a condominium where he could just sell, make their money and go, when you know that you're stuck with the rents that people's leases. You're stuck with those rents, and you can only increase it 2% while cost of materials. There's no way for you to recoup your money. And so by creating incentives for entrepreneurs, they will build. They will build.
So some of us love what I do, you and I included. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you, I was talking to some people about what you're doing, and I was going to interview you. And a question I get that I think you'd answer it better than me. But Alfonso, you're rich. Why are you still doing this? You
Yeah.
be sitting on a beach somewhere.
Well, that's a really valid question, right? So when I was 30 years old, I was for the very first time in my life, financially free. Didn't have to work another day in my life. And Darren, I did go to the beach, and for for like since I was 17, from 17 till I was 30 years old, I worked hard. I built the business. I hustled. I sold I sold clothing from my trunk to opening my first store, working 9 to 9, 7 days a week, and I would go on vacation. I would take these like weekly vacations to Dominican, and 4 square meals a day, and you get to the last day and you're tired and you need another vacation from the vacation. And then I remember one of the guys on the way to the airport, the taxi driver bringing me to the airport. He's like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm from Canada, this and that. And he's like, "Oh, so many people come here from Canada. It's incredible. Everyone goes home and works, and they come back here, and they can only be here for 1 week, and they go back home to work to come back." And he's like, "I don't know why people just don't stay here." And you know what? When you're in the trenches and when you are working every day of your life, you do have that fantasy, Darren. You do have this fantasy of what your life would look like if you had all of your time back.
Yeah.
Just like the same people that are asking you, like, why do you need to do this if you're already wealthy? Right? And so that's exactly what I thought. I thought the same thing. You know what? If I had financial freedom, I would sit on the beach for the rest of my life. They even make memes about it. You can go to Bed Bath and Beyond. There's this thing that you can buy for your bathroom that says "Live a life that you don't need a vacation from." Right? And so basically, you can be on vacation for the rest of your life. And so for me, Darren, that day came when I was 30. I was 30 years old and I was financially free. And so I booked a vacation for 2 weeks instead of one. And the first week was exactly like every other week I've ever been on vacation. On the last day, I was like, "Oh, I got to go home. Oh no, wait a minute, I got one more week." And then the first day of the second week, Darren, I discovered that everything happens all over again in that resort.
The
You
same
know,
shows, the
the
same
same
games at the
everything with the
pool.
same
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, everything is the same. And now I got extremely miserable, and I was the only one moping around on the beach. "Oh, this sucks," you know. And I realized that what I thought I wanted is not even what I wanted. Right now, I have it, and it sucks. Right, and anybody that would ask that, I'm willing to bet that if you bring them to that moment where they have all of their time back, no one is going to choose to sit on a beach for the rest of their lives. And so I started realizing and I started thinking about this word fulfillment, having life fulfillment. And I started really, for the first time, to think about what that means. It means that I have I have to do now that I have all of my time back. I have to do something with my time. Um, what was that going to be? I said, well, why? I want to give back to society, right? If I'm so blessed that I want to give back to society, and I thought about all the things that I could do, and then after looking at all the things that I could do, I realized that the one thing that I was good at was getting to that financial freedom. That's what I wanted to give the rest of the people. And so originally, my goal was to bring as many people to that point where they realize that they don't want to sit on the beach for the rest of their life. They have all their time back, and then they're going to now do something amazing for the society, right? And I'm willing to bet that if you give enough people their time back, they will not sit on a beach for the rest of their life. Maybe for a little while. Maybe some people will sit there for months or whatever. But at some point, we have a human need to help others. And that need to help others has been crushed by society. And once you have your time back, you realize that you were put here for bigger things. And life will change from what you want in life to how are you going to use your life in order to inspire others to live theirs to the highest capacity, whether it's starting a charity, bringing food and help and support to other countries, or helping young people, or helping your church, helping your family, whatever it is. I'm willing to bet that most people are not going to sit on the beach for the rest of their life. And so that's what I would say to those people. The people that say, well, why aren't you on a beach? Well, my life, ever since I was 30 years old, I decided to dedicate my entire life to helping people, and that brings me fulfillment. Anything else, I would not have a fulfilled life if I wasn't doing this.
Amazing. Thank you for that. That great answer to that question. Which kind of leads into the last thing I want to chat about. So, you started this. You're founder of Wealth Genius. No, it's wealthgenius.ia or AI. There you go, Wealth Genius. And when did you start that? And tell us a little bit more about Wealth Genius, and it's exciting stuff. Tell us what you're doing.
On the beach that day. I'm moping around on the beach, and I said, I wanted to create a platform where people can create wealth and find that financial freedom. So I started, roughly around 2006, 2007. I would just speak to whoever would listen, and it started to take form. And I would do formal presentations. It turned into workshops. It turned into a television program. It turned into an academy. It turned into me being on bigger stages all across the world. And what I did miss was having a personal touch with my students. And shortly after COVID, my speaking schedule got cleared up. More events, right? And so I decided that was the time to really lean into my own thing. And the students that I did have, I said, listen, guys, you're always asking me, if I could take on more students, and I never could because I was on the road so much. I said, well, I got time now. And all of a sudden that turned into what you see now, 500 plus members across Canada, and now we're going into the U.S. And we want to go into international markets, and we want to help as many people as possible, find their way through real estate. I mean, there's so many niches, there's so many things, there's so many shiny things. It can be confusing and overwhelming a lot of the times for people. And so we want to focus on very specific things. We have a multifamily track, we have a land development track, and we have an investing in the U.S. track. And if someone decides that this is what they want to do, you want to do it and you want to learn from people that have done it, that have done what you're trying to do. And so that's what Wealth Genius is one of the most powerful real estate platforms in the world, and that's the vision.
That's the vision. And are members there? Are they? Are some people just people with money that want to learn more about it to know where they invest, and other people are actually involved in the projects?
We have all kinds of people. We have people that are very much active in the business, that are wanting to do the business. They're wanting to get the knowledge. They want to put in the time. And then we have more higher scale people, people that have already built their capital, they've already built their careers, and they're looking for a place where people know what they're doing, so they can feel good about investing their money. And we've been fortunate to connect those two people within our network. Of course, we offer multiple different events and in-person events, so people can connect and work together, and it's almost magical.
That's all. Well, you get like-minded people together for a couple of days discussing stuff, and good things are going to happen. And one of the fascinating things, when I attended your workshop was I've got a 19 and 21-year-old. Can you tell me more about your daughter's business that she has started working with younger people?
Yeah, so we have first things first, we have the Quadra Youth Foundation. The Quadra Youth Foundation was founded in 2017, and the objective is to bring financial literacy and entrepreneurship and soft skills to young people globally. Now, we're starting in our backyard, which is Canada, and basically what we do, we have a training, a 1 day training that we offer for young people, whether virtually or live in person, where we go through financial literacy, how to start a business. We go through soft skills like selling. Imagine if you were 16 years old, and you learn how to sell, right? We showed you just simple strategies and techniques on how to sell, public speaking, and we call it the ultimate teen entrepreneur, and it's a full day session where we go through some of these skills and we teach them what a mortgage is and how to manage their credit. And so the ages for that is 12 to 17.
Okay.
And so we didn't want to go into the schools, because before, when I was going into the schools, they're like, well, we need you can come in, you can talk for a half an hour to the young people. I really need a full day, And then there was so many limitations. You can't say this. You can't teach them about that. I said, you know what? How about I do the event and I have the young people come to me? And that's kind of how it is. We do it virtually. We do it in person. And if someone wants to be involved with it, it's very simple. They just got to find me, reach out. If they can put a group of young people, 20 to 30 young people together in a room, I will fly down with our team. We'll deliver the program, absolutely no cost. We'll buy them lunch. You buy the lunch to the young people, and they're going to have an extremely good time. They're going to come out with certificates that they're the ultimate teen entrepreneurs, and then they can continue to engage with us, as they grow up. Now, 18 plus. That's my daughter, right? So my daughter's part of Wealth Genius, and one day, she's 27 now. The little girl that changed my life, at the beginning of the show. She's 27 now, and she's part of Wealth Genius. She's got the investor mindset. She's investing. She's got about 13 doors. She earned it all on her own. She did all the work on her own. I always tell people, like, look, she has built her way. We don't believe in handouts. We believe in hand-ups, right? I give her the knowledge, the guidance, the training, the education, but she has to take the actions. Ultimately, one day she asked me a question after a mastermind, and she was like, "Dad, I can't remember the question." I'm like, "Honey, why didn't you ask that during the mastermind?" He's like, "Yeah, but sometimes I feel intimidated when there's so many older people," and so. He's like, I love Wealth Genius. I wish there was something like that for younger people in their early 20s. And I'm like, I'm sure there's something like it. And so we went online, we looked, we searched, we Googled, and nothing existed. So what we did is we created it, right? We created 610 Project, the number 6, and then the letter TEN, right? 610 Project. And basically, it's just a community of young people learning to invest in real estate. She does the coaching. She has other coaches as well. And I think there's about 45 young people in that community. And when I used to talk to people about it, people said, that's nice. It's good for the young people to learn, but they're not going to be able to act on anything. Listen, these young people are killers. Some of them are buying triplexes, fiveplexes. We got young people buying, doing land development, and they find the confidence because they can now work with their peers, younger people in their 20s. And so that's what that's about.
I love that program. I'm the same way. Like in school, they teach you nothing about money in the real world. Absolutely nothing. Okay, one last question, and then I want to get into where people track you down. So you talk about educating those young people. So many people, have been wanting to dip their toe into real estate, whether it be their first rental, duplex, triplex, doesn't matter. But they're scared. So what would you say to those people that are just, I've been talking about real estate. Yeah, but you've been talking for years, afraid to dip their toe in the water. What's the piece of advice as the godfather of real estate that you could give those folks?
The only way to gain confidence, and the reason why the majority of the people don't take action, is just because they don't know, right? It's hard to go into a world where there's no clear path. It's not taught in school. Nobody talks about it. There's no university course. You can become a realtor. That's about it. That's what most people think they should do. But no one gives you a clear path on how to build wealth. And I would say, get educated, listen to the people that have the results that you're looking for, and build confidence by doing, right? Expand your mindset, get educated, get coaching, get mentoring. I have this program, but they don't have to join my program. I might not be everyone's cup of tea, but, join something, go and learn and start and, dip your toe in the education bucket before you go and dip your toe into the real estate that you don't know what you're doing. And, get educated, get coaching, and take action. That's the most powerful thing that you can do.
Yeah, I know the hesitation I had before I bought my first property, like for years, and then I bought it, and it was like, okay, it's not that bad. Like there's a couple things I wasn't expecting, but and then you do another one, and you do another one. So that I love that. Get educated before you invest. All right, Alfonso, fantastic interview. So I actually Googled this before we get on. So if I just search Godfather of Real Estate, you come up as the first one. And then if people want to find out more about you, there's approximately 1,000 YouTube videos that you have on YouTube, free of charge, that people can check out.
Yeah, they can just go to my YouTube channel. Type in Alfonso Cuadra. I have over 1,000 videos that I've created content. I want to. Ultimately, that will be what I'm going to be known for. Is all the people that I've helped, and that's part of my legacy. And people can go there, and if anything I say on that YouTube channel resonates with you, reach out, DM me. I'm very Googleable. You'll find me.
I love it. 1,000 videos. There you go. If you can't learn something from 1,000 videos, what a great way to dip your toe in the education before you take action. Yeah. Alfonso, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Look forward to chatting again soon. Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. And if you want more information, check out our website, controllandcompound.com, and you can sign up for an education session with one of our wealth coaches.